All right, Dwayne, go for it, buddy.
Well, we're excited about a new record. When did the process start? I know, Bart, I just saw you just a few months ago on set for the new movie. So you probably had both of these things going at the same time. At what point is it an ongoing process, or is it something like, hey, we probably need to put out a new record, or is it just we write songs all the time and let's just get in the studio?
Yes to a little bit of all of it, I guess. This album took about a year and a half, and it kind of started with us working with our producer Ted T and just playing around with songs. And next thing you know, we realized that I think we're making an album, and so that's why it took so long. It was like we weren't really given a deadline. We knew it was probably about time to start working on an album, and yeah, we just kept going and going. The It's amazing to have our own studio, but the cons of that is that, most time it's like, hey, I got to pick my kids up, so we'll finish it later and later. So it just kept taking longer and longer. But yeah, it was I think the way the songs ended up, I think potentially is because we weren't really thinking album from the beginning, and so the songs there's a lot of different styles on here that if we would have thought too hard about it, may not have made the record, like Canary in a Coal Mine and stuff like that. But Ted was really encouraging of like, man, this music's coming out of you guys. Put the album out. Don't worry about the rules or whatever. And so we had a blast making it, and just finally happy it's out.
Us too. Thank you.
Ah, all right.
Dwayne, do you have more than one question?
Yeah, I didn't want to hog the time, so
You're okay. We'll let you ask your questions and then we'll go to the next.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you're good.
Well, let me maybe somebody else might want to answer this. You talked about having your own studio, Bart. I would think the temptation is to keep tinkering with things. And at what point do you say, okay, that song's ready to go and we're not going to touch it again?
That is definitely like there's a blessing and a curse in having your own space to work in, because there's no real time constraints other than the label knocking on the door going, hey, you guys gonna ever finish? So yeah, we rethink songs and sometimes overthink songs. A lot of times though, we see songs go from maybe getting scrapped to all of a sudden like, oh, that's what it needed, and we have the time to dive into that. I know Sing particularly is one of those songs that just the entire vibe of the song changed through the process, and it was probably getting scrapped at one point, but we just kind of came up with a new feel for it and had the time to do that. So yeah, it's a blessing and a curse, but I think ultimately it gives us the time to not to just really explore, what's best for each song.
I guess one more. If you talked about not having rules or whatever, not throwing those expectations out. So this may not even apply, but do you sense an overarching theme for the whole record? Do you see songs in a certain stage of life or certain things that have happened that are kind of touched on by a majority of the songs?
Good question.
Should have thought about that.
I would say, like, to me, like, it's just a really joyful record. There's heavier content in it, but like the whole thing just points to joy for me personally. I know the concept behind it is being caught by the wonder and the awe of God, which sometimes it feels like we've lost in the church. But I think that comes immediately with joy of what we've been given.
Yeah, I would say the album was either going to be titled Wonder and Awe or Sing Like You've Already Won, and they both kind of apply to what we're going for. And it's a little bit of what I said earlier about how we started writing without really thinking of an album, and so the songs were kind of all over the place. But there was, part of it felt like we were teenagers in a garage band again, like just not really, if there are any rules, not really playing by them. And so there is like this childlike kind of thing about a lot of these songs, whether it's Fred Astaire or just stuff that just, we said 30 years ago, man, if it doesn't pull at their heartstrings, and just try to make them dance. And so it's just, I think there's just I don't know if a childlike wonder, but there was just a different approach to this album. And that kind of led me to actually writing the song Wonder and Awe, and talking about, I'm not sure where our childlike faith grew up. And so I think musically, the album, that just kind of seemed like the appropriate title for the album and this bunch of songs.
Thank you, guys. I've talked to you for the first I Know record way back in the day, and it looks like you're still having fun and still turning it out. Appreciate it.
Avoiding hard labor at all costs.
Thanks, Dwayne. Okay. Alex, are you ready to go next? I'm just going in order of the list here. Does that work for you?
I am good to go.
Thank you. And we know
Hello,
you're Alex, because we did some research. Your email just says Tin Can, so I didn't know that until.
Oh, that is my pen name, Tin Can Caldwell, like Mark Twain or O. Henry. It's so a tin can is an empty vessel that God can use, right? You don't buy the beans for the can, you buy it for what's inside, and hopefully what's inside me makes the can worth it, right? So it's a modern jar of clay, right? So that's I went on one of those men's retreats in, where you sit out in the woods and you pray for a weekend kind of thing. And this guy came over and in a very charismatic sense, I'm not charismatic, but he said, "Hey, God, said you're a tin can. That's your new name." And like the light shone down on me, you know what I mean? And it was like that. And so God gave me that moment, 20 years ago, and I've been writing under that name ever since. But it's that new identity idea that you're not just, Alex. And so I talk about that in my church, like, hey, you have a new name when you get to heaven, right? It gets revealed. And so I hope when he picks up that rock, it says Tin Can,
My nickname's Beanbag, but it's coming.
I have a kid I work with. He's like, "I'm Styrofoam Cup." I'm like, okay, that's that's
Yes.
think of all the disposable things, right? And then that are valuable. Like if that cup has coffee in it, and I'm preaching, and I apologize. It's like Friday morning.
That's great.
I caught like 6 "Oh Brother, Where Art Thou" references in the record, and I'm like, did you guys just watch that movie together or something? Because I don't know if they're Easter eggs or not, or if I'm just too much of a fan of that movie that I see it everywhere. But there's a canary in a coal mine reference, and then there's a song called "Oh Death" that is sung, by Ralph Stanley. Is there any truth to that, or am I just imagining that?
Well, I no, definitely on a canary. I wrote that one, and I watch "Oh Brother" about once every couple of months. And so like when I first wrote that, well, I guess in a way there's a weird connection, because it was never meant to go on the record. I was joking with Walker Hayes about, hey, this is my attempt at a country song, and
sure,
with a canary. And then because of that, he was like, "I'll see your canary and I'll send you a death."
That's awesome.
He watched "Oh Brother," but I know that I even used to call it, "This is my Oh Brother song." And so,
okay, so I'm not off I'm not off my rocker. Okay,
it's definitely a favorite amongst all of us.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, and it started like 40 bands, in terms of like the Mumford and Sons Lumineers world of, they were all my age when they watched that in the theater, and then "Oh Death" with Ralph Stanley. Like that's a very Southern expression, right?
Yes.
That is the happiest sad song. And you've said this, I get a real funeral vibe from, because I know you've talked about that, but the last song on the album with the pipe organ and the sad trumpet, that's a beautiful kind of dirgy end of a funeral kind of Southern gospel moment. Was that intentional, like to wrap it all up in kind of this beautiful, but yet still kind of sad, melancholy moment?
Yeah. I mean, like all of our last songs are always intentional. Like we come from we're been a band for over 30 years, so we still love albums and we love the journey that goes on. So the first song's important, the last song's important. And so Heartbroken Hallelujah was written after a friend of mine went through a divorce, and then I kind of started the process of just the pain he was going through. And then when my father-in-law passed away in November is what kind of pushed me to finish the second verse and the rest of the song. And yeah, it's just when we started kind of seeing what the album was going to be, I think we knew early on that it would end with Heartbroken Hallelujah. It's, I know people probably don't care as much as we do anymore, but
So I do. I'm raising.
It's
Man, give me an
that
album.
last statement you leave them with if they ever listen to the whole record.
Absolutely. And just my professional advice is to definitely end every concert with that song. I mean, that's the most. So that's free advice there. With the trumpet, you got to have bring the trumpet player with you, even if he works the merch table, whatever it is. Just have like.
It's always okay. A fun fact: that's not a trumpet. That's my mouth.
Oh, no way. Okay, it sounds like a muted trumpet.
Well, and what's funny is I don't play anything, and so all through the process of the album, I would say, "Hey, we need like on that one." I literally say, "We need a muted trumpet. It should go like this." And Ted, the producer, ended up keeping me doing it with my mouth instead of actually getting a trumpet player. So.
That made my day. Thank you. And you have to do it in concert. Like you have to.
There's actually a couple of moments on the record where his mouth trumpet ended up beating out the real trumpet. So
that's my new nickname.
Isn't it great that you can discover new talents like in middle age where you're like, oh, I should go on America's Got Talent and do
whatever keeps the budget low.
I'm way off of my questions, but last one. Is there a dream collaboration? Like I know Walker Hayes and like that was a really fun kind of back and forth. And does anyone else you kind of dream of at this point who's still on the list of like, your Bruce Springsteens, your,
I think it's
like everyone has that list of who I dream to work with.
Our top two that we could probably agree on would probably be like Paul McCartney and Bono.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Fun.
Yeah, that'd be pretty bad.
Yeah.
Bono's not doing anything right now, so I can give him a call if you want me to.
That'd be great.
Like
you can text him.
Yeah, speaking of nicknames that are spiritual, right? That's
yeah.
All right, that's what I have for the guys. Thank you so much for all you do. And thanks for press tours like this. These are really fun.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Did you plan the matching T-shirts? Was that the matching color?
We're in a band. You can't see
That's all we have.
Yeah.
We have to look like we're organized here, people, right? We have to all right, thank you.
Thank you. Deborah, would you like to go next?
Hey guys, good to see you. Hey, this is such a great record. I mean, y'all never disappoint. I love every song. I can't believe it's the 12th album. I mean, 12 albums. How did we get here already? And like Dwayne, I talked to you for the first one, and I think everyone since. So what did you learn in those previous 11 records that you feel like you put to work on creating this one? Like 11 albums before, that's a lot of experience. What did you learn that went into this record?
I learned to enjoy it. We've been doing this. We started in 94. So it's I mean, we've said for the last 15 years, we feel like we're on borrowed time, but people keep listening to the music. But I think whenever it stops being fun, and I don't know if we would do it much longer, but yeah, I think our level of gratefulness is probably at an all-time high, and we're old enough to realize and understand how fortunate we are to get to do this for a living. And so, that's what the last 11 albums have taught me, is to enjoy it every step of the way. Cause we're doing something that's it's pretty special. I feel like, as far as just being able to do it this long.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Which song on here do you feel like is most representative of where the band is right now?
Gosh, that's a tough one.
It's a good question.
I mean, we are bipolar, and the playlist is pretty all over the place. So I don't know.
All of them? Probably like a Fred Astaire or All God's People.
Yeah, or honestly, like to me, I'd say Why Not Now? Because it's fun. We love to have fun. We like for the audience live to have fun, but with a point, like to have truth behind that. And I think that one's. I mean, we were rehearsing it yesterday and just laughing the whole time, having a great time, because there's more mouth trumpet.
True, there is.
Oh, I love that. With so many great songs on there, Oh Death, being the single and the way it's resonating and taking off. To what do you attribute the success of that song?
Man, I mean, I feel like the song it's a little left of center. I mean, as far as what's on radio, and not in a bad way, but it's just you always risk music sounding similar on any format, and so it just yeah, it was different for us. I mean, when Walker Hayes sent me the chorus, we fell in love with it immediately. We laughed because like I remember going to the record label with a batch of songs that were barely there. There was demos to show them what we thought the album was going to look like, and all I had for "Oh Death" was him singing on a voice memo. It's just him singing a chorus that he sent to me, and I played all the songs that we've done. Played that when the label was like, "That's the first single. That's unbelievable." I was like, "That's not even me singing it." Like I don't know how I think my feelings are hurt, but I agreed with them and was excited that they were willing to, I mean, it's not really take a risk, but it would have been it would have been really easy to have a power ballad or something like that. And I love it is a little bipolar that it makes you want to dance, but it talks about an issue that's not that fun to talk about. And Walker, the way he approached it has a weird swagger about it, kind of this take that death, we win. And so I don't know. I'm not sure. I mean, the feedback we're getting is that people are, kind of like Imagine, like, everybody understands hurt and pain, and it maybe because it's a different approach or whatever, but we're always pleasantly surprised when it connects with people, but it always has to start with us in the cabin. Like, do we love it? And if so, it's our best foot forward and just hope that people connect to it. So I'm not sure why it resonates, but I'm glad it does.
Mm-hmm. Yep. If I could squeak in one more question, I want to ask you about the road this fall. You've got 2 great tours lined up, going out with Toby, then going out with Natalie. And so talk a little bit about what fans can expect from the shows this fall.
Barry?
Man, we're going to play some awesome music. You know what? We're going to play some awesome music with our friends because we do love traveling with our friends and it's a great time. We're excited about playing the new music. So, yeah.
Amen.
Yes.
Yes.
Are there any activities on the road? Like, do you guys like play Toby's crew in basketball, or like, is there like anything that y'all do that you kind of interact when you're out there?
A lot of naps.
Yeah, naps, and then
there's some golfing.
We'll meet you at catering. Oh yeah, we do play golf.
Nathan builds bows and arrows.
He does. That's not a joke. He does.
Yeah, he does.
Yeah, it's we're weird and old. So
we used to play basketball.
Yeah. Now we watch it.
Yeah. Love that. Thanks, guys.
That's so funny. Okay. Let's see. Leah, are you available? You ready?
Yay. Hi, I am. Hey. Hi, guys. I always say I grew up with you guys, so I'm always honored when I get to talk to you.
Oh, we're old.
Speak out or we can't hear you. Okay.
So I also had a question about Oh Death, because I think this is such a cool song, but a lot clearly went into it. Can you talk about some of the spiritual wrestlings or revelations that occurred for you guys to create this song?
Yeah, like I said, Walker sent the original chorus and idea, and he said, like, his original approach was he was sitting in a little country church where he lives, and he said, man, the worship wasn't great, and he goes, and I could either sit there and complain about it or start thinking about what would I love to hear a church sing, and that's where he got the idea. So he sent it to me, and my father-in-law had been diagnosed with leukemia and about the same time and was given about a month to live, but they couldn't guarantee the next day. And so I was driving to Texas to be with him when Walker sent the song. And so, he had no idea what I was going through, but it was like the perfect storm. And, I was, I don't want to say too emotional, but more emotional than usual considering the circumstances when I was driving, hearing this upbeat song, and I'm crying like I'm listening to Imagine because of what's going on, and so we got home, was able to, my father, he passed away a month later, but I got to let him hear the song, and for me, it's forever attached to my father-in-law because he was this, chairman of the deacons of a Baptist church his whole life. He was my second grade Sunday school teacher, and he used to always tell me, Bart, I can't dance, which he couldn't dance at all. He was such a nerd, but he said, I'm going to get down when I see Jesus, and so it's if I would have thought years ago, what's the song I connect with Frank, my father-in-law, it would have never been this song. But when the time came, it was so appropriate. And so the timing couldn't have been perfect. And then, just to have the label and the guys and everybody be on board that being a single was a huge bonus. And it gives me a chance to talk about my father-in-law to a lot of people, which is pretty cool.
Oh, I love that. Oh, that's so special. Okay, so you guys co-produced all tracks on this project, you guys as a band, for the first time ever. How did that involvement stretch or redefine your identity, both as musicians, but also really as messengers of hope and of truth in a world that is just going crazy right now?
Working with Ted T was always something that we wanted to do. We're fans of everything that he's done before, and he was real open to let us experiment quite a bit. We were in here making sounds with everything we could find. It wasn't just our normal instruments. We were beating on the pianos in ways it's not meant to be played and coming up with sounds. So Ted was
mouth trumpet.
Yes.
The wood beams.
Yeah. But not only that, there were moments that Ted would hear something like Heartbroken Hallelujah wasn't a complete song. And it was just an idea. But when Ted heard it, he kind of stopped us and said, I want to hear the rest of that story. And so Ted was real quick to not let us just move past something, but recognizing, hey, there's a story here. There's something that I think people need to hear, and you guys need to finish that. And so that was refreshing to not only let us be able to experiment sonically, but him being brave enough to look at us and say, hey, you guys aren't done yet. This needs to be finished. Even Oh Death was like that. We had gotten to the point in the record where we were getting ready to choose, like, okay, this is the batch of songs we're on. Well, then Bart sends us the chorus to Oh Death, and we all instantly knew, oh, we have to stop and rethink everything because this song needs to be finished. And that doesn't always happen, but you're always looking for that moment on the record where there's the linchpin, where everything, there's always one song that kind of becomes the heart of the whole record. And we know that we have this, and then we can finish out the rest of the record. And Oh Death was certainly that for us. It really did kind of stop the process, and we honed in on that, and then we knew we could finish the rest of the record.
And our last two albums were produced by Brown Bannister, Ted T, and Jordan Malowski. And this time around, Jordan was neck deep in Toby Mac's new album. Brown is, professor at Lipscomb and doing his thing. And so when we got with Ted, he was like, before we start looking for the producers, you guys, you pretty much are. We should be doing this together. And so, yeah, it was an awesome process. But Ted was really encouraging. Like, you've done this for 30 years, you know what you're doing, and so let's just do this together. So it was a super fun process, and just we had a blast, and it was fun.
It would be safe to say we've co-produced probably our last 3 or 4 records, but we just never named it that. We've always just been hands-on and had a lot of input. And so they do the hard part of editing everything and cleaning it up because we're all too ADD for that. But I would say that we've just always been really hands-on in the process.
Yeah. And just one more question. You guys have been around for 3 decades, which is so cool. And you consistently make great music, and you're consistently faithful to the gospel. What is your hope for the future of the Christian music industry? It's changed so much over the years. There's so many new faces coming through. It's gone through so many ups and downs. What is your hope for the next 10, 20, 30 years of CCM?
Oh man. That it's just done well. I mean, and it's not necessarily well as in a certain style of music, but that it's just it's artists putting in their best foot forward and doing it with integrity and maintaining the gospel, and and just it being about Jesus and just the Christian life and everything that it involves. And I mean, I think it's hard. There's so much music. It's so hard to keep up these days, but but there's so many great songs and great artists are out there that I think the industry's in great shape. Maybe it's me, but I can't keep, there's so many new artists introduced. It's hard to keep up with everybody that's out there. I'm trying, but I'm just old, man. I can barely program my VCR. So.
My kids keep telling me about all the cool stuff. So
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Leah. Okay, let's see. Here we go. Mike, would you like to go next?
Yeah, I can go next. Fine. Hey guys, congratulations on number 12, of course. Definitely really excited about the album and the public now getting to hear that. But I know that Bart, you've talked about one of the struggles in today's church is that lack of awe. So can you maybe share a personal experience where you truly felt the wonder and awe of God, and maybe how that moment how it found its way on the album?
Yeah, I've talked about the title of the album came from me doing a death scroll on social media, and I came across something very briefly where somebody said that the one thing that may kill religion or kill a church is the lack of awe, and how, we have all this information in the palm of our hand, and we're not surprised or have these moments where it takes our breath away. And man, the one that comes to mind is the one that kind of the reason that I got in MercyMe was we used to do these camps in '93. We went to the Swiss Alps in Switzerland and did this church camp for military and missionary kids, and it wasn't like it is now where worship leaders are more like choir directors in the church, and there wasn't really a worship thing. And I remember we took this gondola up, literally the mountaintop experience in the Swiss Alps, and these 200 or 300 kids got in this massive circle, and the head of the camp was like, "Hey, you should try to get them to sing," and they were so spread out in this giant circle. I didn't know if they'd hear me, and so there's just one rock in the middle. I remember standing up on it and singing as loud as I could, trying to get them to all sing, and it was a real simple song, and you finally got everybody singing, and then these tourists and other people up there, they stopped and started singing with us that maybe didn't necessarily speak English. And it was this moment that brought me to tears. And it was like one of those first times where I was like, oh man, like I felt like the journey got harder because I realized this is what I'm supposed to do. But being in a worship band that wasn't a thing. It's like, I'm going to be leading choir in a church, I guess, because, or I'm going to be, doing live worship band on Wednesday nights for youth group, but that's not going to pay the bills. And so it was this weird sense of this is what I want to do, but there wasn't a place to do it. And so I think it was up the first year. And then we left there, literally started MercyMe. And by the next year, 94, we came back, and Mike and, what was the beginnings of the band came back and did the same camp. And it was like, there was a sense of urgency. Like I knew that was what I was going to do, and went home and convinced Mike, who just graduated high school, to move from Florida to Oklahoma. And that's where that ministry was from. And so that moment changed my life forever. Like I could see it like it was yesterday, and how I was like, not sure how to describe what's happening, but I'm going to do this the rest of my life.
That's awesome. It's music has the power to change lives, and we obviously know that. You guys have been doing this for 3 decades now, and I grew up listening to you guys' music as well. My daughter loves it. She's 12. She's, she loves your guys' music, and
new fans,
right? Oh yeah, absolutely. And I guess that really leads me into the next question as far as some of the titles that you're looking at this album. So, for example, "Canary in the Coal Mine" and "Heartbroken Hallelujah," the first and the last songs. They kind of spark curiosity. Can you maybe share the story behind one of those songs and what fans made something that they might not expect from just reading the title?
Yeah, and that there was intention in that. Like Fred Astaire, it was like I said before, there's so many. I think somebody in Spotify or something said that there's over 150,000 new songs released every Friday, and it was like insane stats. And it's like, man, and the advice was, how do you get their attention? How do you have a voice to where, and so when we write, like when I wrote Fred Astaire, I was like, okay, everyone's gonna have to wonder what in the world would that song be about. I remember going to the label and that song in particular and going, hey, we got this song called Fred Astaire. And as I'm playing it, half of the room is on their phones. And I'm like, they're bored. Kind of made me mad. And I was like, what's going on? They said, we're Googling Fred Astaire. And I was like, oh, okay, gotcha. You don't know who he is. But anyway, like I remember when I wrote Canary in the Coal Mine, explaining to my kids and people like where that comes from, the idea of miners going in and carrying this bird in a cage. And if there's something bad and the bird freaks out or dies, to get out. And just this thought of, okay, it's a simplified way of kind of what the Holy Spirit does with us sometimes. And so it's just we've done it long enough to where, you're trying to tell the same story in different ways, so to speak, as far as the gospel goes, and just trying to find new ways to express yourself and that may stick, that someone's going to talk about Fred Astaire and wonder why it's on the album, and starting off with Canary Coal Mine, that was intentional. And yeah, it's those were just titles that I couldn't get out of my head. Heartbroken Hallelujah was just that just came from pain. That just came from hurt and going through it. And it's always been my therapy to work those things out through songs. And it's funny, other than Imagine, the only other two songs I've ever written by myself, because I hate writing by myself, was Canary and Heartbroken Hallelujah. But other than that, it's always wanting to write with somebody else. But yes, I'm glad you noticed about the titles, because some people think I'm overthinking it.
Well, the Fred Astaire one definitely kind of threw me off. Like, oh, what is this one about? So it really was really a good. I felt like a lot of people might say, well, what is the song about? It draws people in, and again, you've got new fans. So back to the new fans thing, real quick. I have my one last question: did you approach Wonder and Awe with the goal of reaching both longtime listeners and a new generation? Like I said, my daughter loves your music as well. How do you hope this record speaks across the different age groups?
I think we always try. I mean, we're not reinventing the wheel here. It's still going to be MercyMe, but I think for our own sanity, we try to change it up some and try to do stuff that's new. But at the same time, we've built something over the years that we don't want to alienate fans that like what we would call those songs more security blankets, or like, okay, if they're gonna get stretched on a song like All God's People, then let's make sure we have so many reasons or something to where they know that we haven't lost our minds. But yeah, it's definitely intentional. And, you've got to keep a pretty good balance of trying to gain new fans. But man, it's your old fans that got you this far and still selling records. And you never want to, feel like they're on an island and don't know what's going on.
No, absolutely. Well, thank you guys for your time. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike. Okay. So Tracy is next. Let me see. She's in the hospital with her mother, and she's going to be free in just a second. So I thought I would just see, like, does anybody else have another question that they might want to ask while we're waiting?
Not prepared.
Let me think.
Yeah, I just we've mentioned like 3 decades in music. Does that make you feel old sometimes? Because I think we've said it like 8 to 10 times in this thing. So.
Yes.
But I think about
we're all 84.
Oh, what are the nice parts about having been with the same guys for that long? Like, because you always hear the stories about the bands who broke up after, they just had been fighting for so long or whatever. So 3 decades, that's such a milestone, just like being married, What are some of the nice things about the camaraderie that you have? And I want to ask about the pet peeves or whatever, because that's not for today.
I think we've all seen each other's tricks and whatever. And so it's like, we must actually like each other to do it this long. And
yeah,
I mean, I truly am closer to them than I am my own brother, probably. Yeah. And it's a family. Was it Bono that said being in a band's like being a mafia? The only way you get out is if you die. And I thought that was silly at first, but now I'm starting to believe it.
Yeah, little by little, like, oh, now I get it. Yeah,
it's also comforting. Like, I know who my pallbearers are going to be. I'm not going to ask. These guys are in. So,
yeah. Speaking of a funeral motif, right?
There was a time when it was, I know where my groomsmen are going to be. Pallbearers.
Such is life, right? Okay, that's a song right there. Groomsman to pallbearer.
Hey, you live a good life if your groomsmen are also your pallbearers.
100%. 100%. And then somewhere in there, you're God godparents to your kids, right?
Yeah,
That's the
yeah.
middle, like, you know.
Oh, they're not raising my kids. Are you crazy?
Oh, yeah. We already raised his first two.
No, that's an emergency option. It's not
Yeah,
the
there you
first
go, yeah.
option. It's the
Plan B.
They all go to Barry.
That's fair.
Fair.
Have we filled enough time?
Yeah, I think that's great. That was funny. I think so.
Has anyone
Tracy-
seen Tracy? No, I'm kidding.
help, help. I'm just kidding. Tracy, are you available?
She's been taking our picture.
Sorry, I had to unmute. Okay, so just a little disclaimer here. I'm in with the hospital with my mom, and of course, we waited all morning for OT and doctors and all them to come in before 10 o'clock, and they all came in right around 10 o'clock.
Perfect.
So we're in the bathroom.
Oh, no.
So that's why it sounds this way.
If you need to bail, we can holler at you later if we need to.
No, it's okay. But anyway, that's why it sounds funny. And that's also why I'm not showing myself. Yeah. Okay. But and also I've been half listening to the doctors and the PTs and everybody, and half listening to you guys. So if I ask something that's already been answered, I'm sorry.
We'll give a different answer this time.
Okay, that works. Yeah. Okay. So as someone older, my picture is an older picture, so I'm older than that. I recognize that more years have passed in my past than in the future. And I've gotten to do some amazing things. I've seen God work in some amazing ways, but I'm not done yet. So if you guys feel this way too, what are some ways you've seen God work in the past? And what are some of what's your hope for the future? For like, what else do you want to do that you haven't done?
That's a good question.
Yeah, that's a good question.
I think it's been pretty obvious over the years the way that the Lord has sustained us, and we're very, very aware of that. And like Mike has already said, we're extremely grateful. Mike talked about a lot of the songs on the new record are joyful, and I think that's why we're in a deep place of gratitude. We do feel the same way that we're not done yet, looking forward to what's ahead. What's funny is it seems that the older our kids get, the more they don't want us to stop doing this. And I'm not exactly sure why that is, but all of our older boys, they give us a hard time and say, "Hey, you guys are legends now." And I'm kind of like, "Watch your mouth. What'd you say?" Yeah, but I understand what they mean. Our own family are sometimes our biggest fans, which is an amazing thing to say in and of itself, that we have done this long enough now that our kids still love us and love what we do. And I'm excited about that, about watching our families flourish while we still continue to do this, because not everybody can say that. This is a hard job to sustain a family through. And
we could spend days talking about the way God's used us over the years and the crazy things we've gotten to do. But looking ahead, we have so much music to make with this sweet mustache that we didn't know Mike could grow. So it's a whole new era.
I woke up one morning and there it was.
Man, it's like a new lease on life.
Good song.
All things new.
Yes. Who knew?
Okay. So this next one's okay. Anyway, I don't know what this next one is. It's a question. So I could be very wrong to generalize this to you guys, but in my personal experience as a creative, I'm a musician, a photographer, writer, and I interpret sign language, music, sign language, in sign language. All of that carries a little bit of an ego. I think you have to have some ego to have the self-confidence to keep you going when you're going to fail, because it's going to happen. You are going to fail if you do these very vulnerable things, kind of present yourself and your work out to the world. So if this is the case for any of you, what's it like hanging out with a group of you that may all have these same egos, these strong egos, and how do you keep that from interfering with the ministry?
I think anytime you put yourself out there, like there's nothing natural or comfortable about standing on stage in front of a lot of people. But I don't know if it's like the same reason people bungee jump and stuff. It pushes me to do things that I wouldn't normally do. Like I'm pretty introverted outside of this. Like ironically, I'm not a huge fan of big crowds otherwise, and so it forces me to do things that, I'm one that fear is crippling to me if I'm not careful. And so I think that's a reason for me personally this has worked, is because it has forced me to step out into that unknown and to I mean, it's if every time I get on stage, I'm so reliant on God moving through me, because like I'm not capable of doing this well. I don't have the right look. I'm not. It makes no sense. And they, like, I know I'm quoted U2 before, but I think he said that individually as musicians they're not that great, but there's something special when God put them together. And I think we certainly believe that. And it's and and I don't know how solo acts do it, because being in a band is like there's always someone within inches that can knock some sense into you if you lose focus on what you're doing. And so there's this amazing built-in accountability with the five of us that works well. It works really well because we're still doing it, still loving it, and it doesn't hurt that we all have the same dumb sense of humor. And so that certainly helps. But yeah,
I think that like the ego issue for me has always just been pride. Like if I don't get my way because my way is somehow better than somebody else's idea.
Exactly. Of course.
I feel like I've seen it in other older people who remain nameless, but like if you don't fight against,
Is he talking
like,
about me?
yeah.
oh, sorry, you're not making it obvious. No. If we don't fight against that the flesh and fight against our quote unquote nature, to try to reach, to try to be who God actually sees us as, that just gets worse and worse and worse. And so for me to be in a songwriting situation with these guys, and I think it should be my way, but stepping back and recognizing, man, they've all got great ideas too. What if we explored their idea, and just having them have enough grace to put up with me when I'm being a punk and arguing about it. I think that's been a lot of what's worked for us in the last decade, for sure. The first 2 decades might look a little different, but I think that we've shown a lot of grace to one another and just been patient with each other and trusted each other to work through some of those ego and pride issues.
Thanks. Speaking of the humor, how did the singing portrait get in Odeth? Who came up with that idea? I need to know the backstory of that.
Well, the portrait itself is it's a painting. People ask all the time. It's a painting it's a centerpiece of our studio, and it's a portrait of our booking agent that
Yeah.
years ago, if you notice, we love making fun of mustaches. And so when our booking agent grew one years and years ago, he was also booking Crowder, and we all agreed that he looked like he was part of a cult or something. And so he took that picture and sent it to Crowder. Crowder sent it somewhere to China and had this portrait painted.
Oh my gosh.
And he gave it to him years ago. And our booking agent was like, man, I can't hang that in my house. And we were like, well, we have a perfect place for it. So it's become a part of so many things we've done. And so while we were shooting the Odeth video, I was on my phone, and so I just figured out a way I could make it sing along with us. So I did it and sent it to the video guys, and they were like, "Oh yeah, we're so using this." So it was kind of a last minute thing, and yeah, it's a part of us. Sadly, it's got a cameo in the I Can Only Imagine sequel too.
It's an Easter egg for
sure.
Oh, okay, cool. Okay, and then Velvet, do I have time for one more?
One more, yep, that's good.
Okay, so going back to Sirius, that was fun. But going back to Sirius, did any of you ever come close to losing your faith through these decades? And if so, what would you tell someone who is currently questioning God about why life is the way it is, may not be going the way they want it to?
I don't know. I mean, me personally, I don't know if there was a moment where I feel like I was losing my faith. That's like, maybe I was raised this way or whatever, but it's almost like looking at marriage like divorce isn't an option. Like I've had times to where I feel like I'm turning my back on God and and angry or whatever. But as far as losing my faith, I don't feel like that was ever really an option. It's I've always looked at it as a covenant that I can pretend that I can break, but it's something that Christ has promised to never break. And but that being said, yeah, of course we've had moments to where we wanted to call it quits and the bottom's falling out and things are out of control. And again, I would say I don't know how solo acts do it, because there's a lot of seasons that I couldn't have gotten through it without the guys around me. And as much fun and as goofy as we can be, it's the moments where we went through hell on earth at times and stayed by each other's sides. That's the real reason that we're still together, 30 plus years. It's like in the Heartbroken Hallelujah, sometimes the grief and the pain is so intense that rest and isolation start looking similar. And the last thing that the enemy wants is us to find help and community, and that isolation is the worst thing. And so, yeah, anytime those moments have come to where it's like, and more than just hanging up being in a band, but just wanting to give up completely, isolation is the worst. And sadly, I can't get rid of these other 4 people. So I'm in good shape.
Yeah. Yeah. God did a big work in me, about walls, about isolation. I was isolating myself from church, from community because of hurt in the past. It was actually at K-Love, not this past year, but K-Love Fan Awards weekend the year before. And it's changed everything. But getting back into community, I mean, it really has. So I can
yeah, it's vital.
see what you're saying with that. Yeah. Okay. Thank you so much. And thank you for kind of going with where I am.
Thank you. I hope everything's going okay.
It's rough, but it's going.
Thanks, Tracy,
Thank you.
Mike, Deborah, Alex, Dwayne, Leah, everybody. We appreciate you guys.